Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Selling My Business podcast. This is your host, August. Today, I'm here with Austin Tenette. Austin is a senior business advisor with Transworld Business Advisors of Houston. He's an extensive business coaching and business development background with more than 20 years of experience growing businesses. He is a certified executive leadership and business coach. In Austin's Prep to Sell business coaching role, he helps business owners prepare their business for an eventual successful business sale at maximum value. So, Austin, tell us a little bit more about your background and why you became a business broker.
So I think it was probably like many brokers, it was sort of the winding road that got me here. So as you mentioned in my intro, I've spent a number of years doing business and leadership coaching. And so I had approached the local Transworld franchisee about maybe working with some of his more problematic listings. Sometimes before a business is prepared to achieve maximum valuation, there's some things in the background that need to be addressed and completed. And so I approached him and said, hey, let me work on a coaching basis with some of those prospects you have, and maybe we can make them more saleable businesses. And so as we had that conversation over the course of about 6 or 7 months, the local owner said, "Hey, Austin, have you ever thought about being a business broker?" And I said, "Well, I have, but hadn't taken any steps towards doing it." He says, "I think your coaching of people that are going down the exit process, you have more credibility if you had spent time as a broker." So that's kind of what got me into the business brokerage business. And then what I found is that the business brokerage, when done well, it can be pretty all-consuming. So I've spent most of my last couple of years in the business focusing on traditional business brokerage as opposed to preparing businesses to sell. Although that conversation comes up often during listing agreements, and we help people understand why their business is not worth more than what they think it is.
Yeah, I have a question on that, since you have a lot of experience with basically building up a business to be able to be sold. Mm-hmm. When a business owner comes and says, "Hey, I want to sell my business. I just want to get out of it. I'm burnt out. I just want to retire, or I just want to get this business out of my hands." Their thoughts are, "I want to sell it." They want to sell it right away. But how long does that process usually take to take their business from where it's at to be able to be sold, if it could be sold?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So obviously you understand the space quite well. Yeah, because when owners show up and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about selling," they're thinking about selling. They're not thinking about making additional investments in the business. They're not interested in figuring out how to get more value. Well, of course, they all want to sell at top value, but they want to sell at top value without putting additional investment into the enterprise. Mm-hmm. And so we typically quote people that it'll take our typical listing agreement is 12 months. And we typically, for the smaller businesses, we say it's about 8 or 9 months it takes to sell the business. With larger businesses, it could be a little bit longer because of the additional complexity that is often different ownership structures. Getting the ownership team on the same page is often can be a little bit of a challenge, or at least can add to the length of time it takes to sell. And then, of course, with larger businesses, the market potential buyers are smaller, so it takes a little bit longer to find them and to get them up to speed on the particular business. So we typically quote, in the context of a listing discussion, about a 12-month period to sell the business.
Now, what's the difference is there any difference in time frame if it's a partnership that owns the business or a single person that owns the business?
I think it's always easier to deal with a single owner, typically because they can make the decision, or they're empowered to make the decision. Oftentimes, when there are multiple owners, everybody has a sort of their own idea about what success looks like or what the business is worth, and that sort of thing. Now, we often run into certain challenges like that, even with single owners, because you'll see maybe a sole owner may have an advisory board or people that they listen to on business issues, and they may be in their ear, even though they may have no qualifications around how the best way to sell a business, they are in that owner's ear and giving them advice, uh, usually incorrectly, giving them advice about what the business is worth and that sort of thing. And so those kinds of things can lead towards extended selling periods or extended times to list the business.
Yeah. So you've done this quite a few times, getting businesses ready to sell and selling businesses. What are some common mistakes, and what are some common mistakes you see business owners make when they want to prepare their business to be sold?
Yeah. So there's that word you mentioned it earlier. It's preparation. So oftentimes business owners will show up and they'll say, "I want to sell." When did you come to this decision? Oh, well, last night or last month, I had a good year or bad situation and so on and so forth. I just think it's time to sell. So usually, by not preparing, you are endangering your business from creating the maximum valuation. Because when people, and I'll just give you a couple of bullet points underneath the whole thing of preparation. So when we talk about preparation, there's a couple of things that we really focus on, or pardon me, buyers really focus on to see if this is, to make their decision as if this is the appropriate business. So maybe the books might not be in order. For the last several years, or maybe even the life of the business, we've been running personal expenses through the business. So the financial statements that are represented are not really clear of personal expenses. And so, of course, that detracts from cash flow and it detracts from valuation. The other big one is, have they set up the business to be run independent of the owner? I mean, I probably would say 80% of the inquiries I get from buyers, one of the first questions they ask, after they sort of understand what the financials are, they said, "Hey, can this business be run as on an independent basis?" Because the last thing most buyers want to do, since many buyers are serial entrepreneurs, they may have 4 or 5 businesses going. So they want to see what level of independence that business can run on. They don't want to buy a business and then commit themselves to another 80 hours a week. So they want a business that they could potentially run with maybe a 4 to 10 hour a week physical commitment to the business. And the only reason the way you get there is through developing your team, creating sort of a general management role, and empowering people to make decisions in your absence. So those are probably the 2 big ones, just in terms of the preparation side. So they haven't built a team, don't have the clean financials, and then the other part is have the neglect of sales and marketing over the past couple of years or so. So those are the 3 big ones that I often share with people as to how to go about getting maximum value for the business.
Yeah. One quick question I have, just curious. So let's say, because there's a lot of businesses, it's like Bob's, locksmith services. It's his name is in the name of the company. How does that work when it comes time to sell that business?
So, life is one big negotiation. So that typically becomes a negotiation point between buyer and seller. So the buyer has to make some sort of assessment as to, hey, how much of the brand and goodwill is wrapped around Bob's name. If it's a lot, then you've got to make the case to keep the name. And then if Bob says, "Nope, I'm going to take my name with me," now we sort of have to negotiate how we make that happen. Because when we buy a business, I mean, we're buying the assets, right? And so the assets are not just the brick and mortar and the furniture, fixtures, and equipment that is in there, but it's also the goodwill, the quality of the name that's attached to the brand that we're acquiring as well. So with the businesses that I've sold here in the last couple of years, that has been pretty much a non-issue. But I can see that as we get into, particularly if there's a seller who has multiple businesses and similar branding, it could be more of an issue.
Yeah. Well, you see, a lot of home service type businesses where it's, Bob's Handyman Services, or like it's their name is attached to it just because They're the ones that started it, and it was kind of started with them, and then they grew it up. So curious. Do you have any additional tips or advice for business owners listening to it? They're listening to what you're saying, Austin, and getting some good tips and feedback. Do you have anything additional? If you were in front of a business owner right now, they're looking to sell their business, you would say, hey, you have to get this in order. Make sure you get this set up. I know you mentioned team and a couple of things already, but is there anything additional that you see as very important that they need to know?
Yeah, I think the business selling process, I mean, it's an opportunity. I share with sellers, you got to get real. You got to, quit lying to yourself and just, seek out the truth. And so, one place to start is, hey, if I were a buyer, would I buy my business? And if I if I said yes or no, what's the reasons behind whatever the answer is? Because oftentimes we sit down with a seller, and so I always ask the question: say, if you were going to be committed to this business for another 4 or 5 years, what kinds of investments would you be making in the business? And so, invariably, they always have 4 or 5 really good ideas about what they should what they could do to sort of enhance the performance. And so if I have to ask the question, well, why haven't you done it? And then I don't want to say excuses, that's kind of harsh, but then they share the reasons why. So ask yourself the hard questions. Would I buy this business if I was in the market for a business? And then when I look at future opportunities that I'm going to pass on to the potential buyers, how come I haven't done those things? And so it tells a lot about the business and about the character of the individual that's selling.
Yeah. So Austin, just so that the people listening have an idea. So what markets do you work in? Do you work in any specific industries, or kind of what types of businesses are you working with right now?
So right now I'm working across a variety of industries. I would say the only commonality across the opportunities I'm working right now is that they are lower middle market, Main Street type businesses. Right now the majority of them are under $1 million in enterprise value, and we're working on a few larger ones as well. But what I found in the couple years I've been in the business, that our approach, our system, our marketing systems, that's the type of businesses that we attract.
Yeah.
I mean, we're fortunate in our office. We have almost 300 businesses listed for sale. The median price is about $1 million for enterprise value that we're listing them at, and then our average value is about $500,000 or $600,000. So we kind of run across the gamut of businesses for sale, and of course that comes with that is a variety of industries that we work with as well.
Are you seeing any trends with which what buyers are more interested in the industries that buyers are kind of more attracted to right now?
So this is going to sound funny, but pet grooming businesses, we've sold a lot of those in the last couple of years, and I'm amazed at how quickly we list them and how quickly we sell them. So pet grooming businesses tend to be very, very popular. We do list a lot of restaurants for a variety of reasons. People get into the restaurant business, they don't have prior experience, so it's either too much or too much work for what they had anticipated, or maybe they've hit on a success and they need something a larger platform to execute their concept. So we see a lot of work in the restaurant space.
Awesome. Great, Austin. Any last words of advice for business owners?
Yeah, so I would just kind of reiterate something I said earlier. Is just there's a lot to be said for preparing for the selling process. Not saying that you need to hire a coach like I was in my previous career, but get real clear about what it is that you're truly selling, and then most importantly, have a great motivation about why you want to sell. Maybe you want to travel. Maybe you're facing some family illness, maybe you want to move to another part of the country, another part of the world, but have that solid motivation in place so that one, you don't experience seller's remorse. And number two, when you get a good solid offer that's pretty close to what it is you're looking for, you'll be in a position to say yes because you have a clear idea of what you want to do next, and you're excited about getting to that next step. If there's no excitement or minimal motivation, then people will turn down offers even though they may be close to what they're looking for.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin. Great advice. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to jump on our podcast. We really appreciate all the insight you gave us. Thank you for all the business owners and other people that are listening to this podcast right now. We really appreciate you listening to this whole thing. If you need any help with selling your business, you can reach out to Austin. Real fast, Austin, how can they reach you? What's the best way to reach you?
Best way, phone number, which is also with my mobile and text. It's 281-814-3745. And then I'll give you my email address as well. It's atenette@tworld.com. ATE single N as in Nancy, ETTE at tworld.com.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Austin. And thanks for everyone for listening.
August, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Cool. Sweet. All right. Let me end the recording and stop.